The full-time whistle has just blown at St Mary's. It has finished. Southampton 0, West Ham United 0. It's a point for West Ham on their travels. The Hammers never really got going today. To be fair, neither did the home side. However, Southampton hit the post and had a couple of really, really good opportunities right at the end of the game. But of course, the big talking point, the main issue to emerge from this afternoon's game happened in the 5th minute of added on time, the 95th minute of the game, and it was a second yellow card for Michail Antonio, which means West Ham are going to be without their one and only striker for the next couple of games. Rio, sum up, it kind of burst into life a little bit there, didn't it, in the last 5-10 minutes? Not really the way we wanted it to, but sum up what you've seen for us there. The
last 5 minutes or the whole game there?
Well, I'm not sure there was much to talk about before that, was there really?
No, it's a very disappointing performance. We went into this game with a lot of confidence, a lot of anticipation that we could take our form from before the international break into this. We've been playing a lot of free-flowing football, attacking with really a lot of verve, a lot of intent, a lot of kind of creativity, and we've been scoring goals galore. But today, everything was really disjointed. We lacked a lot of quality in a lot of areas. We didn't get our set pieces right in one little bit. We didn't create any really clear-cut chances. There's 2 or 3 snap efforts, but it's a very disappointing performance. I mean, you can't come away from an away game disappointed with a point, really, for me. I know we expect to win things now a lot more than we used to, but the old West Ham creeps back into life every now and then and gives that little slap around the face and say, wake up, we're still West Ham. The plus points I would take, a clean sheet, albeit rather fortuitously, because when they hit the post, we were done and dusted. Dawson got absolutely mugged off. Ogbonna was struggling. Fabianski was nowhere.
Yeah,
he's lucky it wasn't 2 inches to the right. We'd have been gone. Declan Rice saved us in extra time with clearing that ball off the line. But yeah, it's just a painfully disappointing performance. A team that's been on the up, on the offensive, and we really didn't get going today in an attacking form. And it's disappointing. There's a few players out there look incredibly tired, incredibly leggy, and towards the end we lost our shape, we lost our mentality, and we're lucky to get away with that in the end.
Yeah, I think I make you absolutely right. We will be joined very shortly, hopefully, by Gnome live from St Mary's. In fact, there he is. He's just popped up as we speak, almost as if by magic. So we'll just get Gnome on the stream now and just see what his view of what we've seen there. But of course, the big talking point today, Michail Antonio. We worried about his hamstrings. We thought they might be the problem today. Oh no, the problem was that he got booked twice and was sent off with barely 60 seconds of the game remaining, and he of course will now face a suspension, which is going to be absolutely terrible for West Ham with some big games coming up. Of course, he'll be okay to play in midweek when we travel to Zagreb, but he's going to be missing for the Premier League. Let's find out what our man at the ground thinks about it. Gnome, are you with us? Can you hear us? Not quite. Can you hear us, Gnome? Are you with us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good stuff. We were just saying, yeah, we can hear you, buddy. We've got you. The big talking point of that pretty much happened in the last 60 seconds of the game. Michail Antonio, we were just saying we feared his hamstrings going, which might put him on the sidelines. I don't think anyone thought that he might get sent off. What did you make of that?
He was getting sort of, there were lots of niggly fouls him all the way through the game. He retaliated once on one, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And the second he slid in like that, he was going to go. The Southampton manager, I don't know if you saw it at all, but he was doing his absolute nut on the side, like it was some sort of decapitation. But as soon as the second yellow came out and the card came out, the bloke got up.
Yeah.
Funny that, but it was a foul, and
it was a foul, wasn't it? There's no question under the current laws that was a second bookable offence.
Well, a sort of sanction on some of the treatment he was getting through the game. I mean, every time they had the ball with his back to it, there was studs down the back of his neck, you know, that sort of thing happening.
Yeah.
And,
But
so,
overall, what did you make of West Ham's performance today?
sorry. Yeah, I'm not careful. I'm going to get someone. I just flew. Are we going to fight? Not buses now, are we?
Yeah. Are you with us now? You've got
end up with a coach going past. Yeah,
okay.
I'm back. Yeah.
Yeah. Overall impressions of what you saw.
We found them difficult to break down because they were getting a lot of people behind the ball. So it was going a lot side to side, was happening a lot. And weren't as incisive as we have been.
Okay.
And a couple of times, like we've seen the ball played a bit earlier, it laid that centre beyond, but towards the end, they could easily have nicked it.
Yeah, I mean, I think out of either of the two teams, if anyone was going to win that game, it looked like Southampton, didn't it?
Yeah, towards the end anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's a one it for but, you know,
What's
they get play on the referee's gullibility a fair bit, and trying players went down and fell for it.
Yeah. What went wrong for West Ham today, Gnome? I mean, we were sitting here and Rio and I were pretty much repeating throughout the second half that, you know, we thought a goal was on its way for West Ham. We seemed a better team. We were getting closer and closer. And then, you know, that last, it was almost as if when Southampton hit the post 10 minutes from the end, that signalled a complete sea change in the way that the game was going. From that moment on, we were all over the shop, weren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a lot of us, really, because up until those last couple, there has been an awful lot of ambition going forward. A number of things were attacking. You can feel frustration getting right. There were, two or three quick balls might have had trouble. We're having a bit of trouble hearing you, Gnome, at the moment. You're sort of coming through very bitter right now. We're getting bits of you at the moment. It's all a bit Norman Collier right now. Okay, well, I've moved a little bit closer to the microphone.
Okay, that's better.
Right.
Yeah, we got you.
I think one of the changes, though, was the guy they brought on, the number 18.
Yeah.
Had a bit of pace about it.
Yeah.
And we sort of seem to be trying to play him in quite a lot as well. It was a run to Smith and Dawson, which had a parts in mouth. I think it might have been him at the post, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah. I think that was Brozier, wasn't it, the substitute? Who, to be fair, I mean, I don't know. On reflection, I don't know why Rio. I don't know why he didn't start. Really, sort of looking at the impacts he had in that last 10 minutes.
Yeah, he looked incredibly live when he come on. But maybe that's why I leave him on the bench to exploit tired defences, create a little bit of panic. He spent a lot of money on Armstrong in the summer, a lot of money for Southampton anyway. I didn't see nothing from him today that really justified either the price tag or our interest. It didn't impress me one little bit. Rosa come on. Maybe he's got a point to prove, or maybe it's a bit reverse Craig Dawson.
Yeah.
He's come on with a point to prove, and he caused us a lot of problems in the last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, he certainly did hit the post and just looked quite menacing throughout. No, we spoke in the first half and at half time about David Moyes' decision to leave Craig Dawson in the starting 11. I think, not like I wish to speak to Rio, but I think it's fair to say that we both felt that Dawson was pretty impeccable for the first 80 minutes or so until that sort of mix-up that nearly let Southampton in to score the opening goal. What did you on reflection, would you say that was the right decision by Moyes?
That to me.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Right.
I think on this occasion it was. purely because it's only been a couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Zoom in particular, how many different countries. So I mean, I think though in that one moment, I think we saw why Zoom was in. Also defensively was up until that point, this was sound, but his distribution. I mean, you don't side trade Dawson British distribution anyway. Let's be honest, but it did leave a little bit to be desired today.
Okay.
Sort of a few hopeful stuff in the channels.
Yeah, I think it was a bit like that across the team, wasn't it? Really, but what's the? I mean, you're at the ground there. You're at St Mary's, leaving the ground with the rest of the travelling contingent. What's the atmosphere like in there? What's the general mood? What's the view of our fans having watched us? Pretty much hang on for a point there today.
It's kind of philosophical, I think, phrase that was. I had Bill sat behind me, Bill Gardner, and his comment was, well, could have won, could have lost, we drew. It is what it is, I think. Then so I think that really sort of summed it up for me. I mean, thankfully the sending off came too late to make any meaningful difference. But that bit, I mean, I say sending off very least, but I'd still like to know how Chapman put going into the stand.
Yeah. I mean that was a nailed on booking, wasn't it? Didn't obviously make a difference at the end of the game, but it was a strange one. It looked like it was a booking. But so it's fair to say that most of the away fans are reasonably happy with the point. Then
I think when you sit back and reflect on it, you probably will be. I think there might have been a little bit of, we didn't play very well in that one. But at the end of the day, if you're not playing that well, you still get the point. Still unbeaten. Could be worse. Could have lost 3-0 Palace.
Yeah. Well, this is true. Of course, this is true. It could have been much worse. While as you mentioned that, we'll have a very quick look at the rest of the results today. Of course, early game today at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace running out 3-0 winners against Tottenham. Elsewhere in the Premier League this afternoon, a team called Arsenal have won a game. That'll be a novel thing for the people in North London. The other lot in North London beating Norwich 1-0. Brentford going down 1-0 at home to Brighton. Leicester losing by the same score at home to Man City. Man United, their nearest rivals, beating Newcastle 4-1. No surprise there. Watford going down at home to Wolves by 2-0. How does that affect the table? Well, it means that Tottenham remain top of the pile despite getting thrashed, humiliated, humbled by Crystal Palace in South London.
Did Man United go above them?
No, West Ham are still second. We remain second in the table. Same goal difference as Man United, also with 8 points from 4 games, but we've obviously scored more goals, so we stay second. Rio, I suppose, really, in retrospect and looking back at today's game and the way it ended, finished the game with 10 men, Southampton at the post. We're still in second at the end of the day. Could have been a lot worse, couldn't it, really?
Absolutely. We was lucky to hang on. Those last 10 minutes were absolutely shocking. The way we lost our heads, lost our shape, lost our discipline. But, we've walked for over a point. Wasn't the most, how can you put it? The most impressive of games from us. We looked incredibly leggy. We looked like a side that, short on numbers, which we are, has lost a lot of players in international football because they're good, which they are, but we're suffering the effects of that. The new face we've brought in, haven't had the time to integrate with the squad, and it showed, I think the best things to take out of Vlasic when he did come on looked really bright. But our key areas, we had players who looked incredibly leggy. Suchek was largely anonymous throughout the game. Probably his poorest game for us, I think. Tufel did all right, but he kind of tailed off. Ben Rama, some of our leading lights of this season didn't perform at all. Now, Ben Rama had a poor game. Fornals looked tired. When half your midfield, or 3/4 of your midfield is looking incredibly leggy and tired, you're going to struggle.
No, Rio touched on Vlasic there. You know, we didn't get to see an awful lot of him. Only came on the pitch for the last. When did he come on? I'm trying to look at my notes. It certainly wasn't long, was it? I've lost it now completely. I can't see what it was. Last 20 minutes or so, yeah. But you know, from what little we saw of him, we saw a couple of bursts into the box, didn't we? A couple of breaks. Was you enthused by what you saw?
Yeah, I mean, he looked busy and he looked. He knew what he was doing, sort of thing. Didn't he? You know, there was a player we wouldn't have to sit and wait for 6 months to settle into the Premier League sort of thing. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was about. So we said at the time, you know, he'd done more in that 10 minutes or so than Ben Rama had done all in the second half. So,
yeah, he was quiet today, wasn't he, Ben Rama? Really not.
Yeah,
the races at all.
Yeah. I mean, he was one that was sort of lacking in ideas. But then, you know, what they were doing was they were getting pretty much 10 outfield players behind the ball. And
yes.
It was like, come and break us down. And whereas where that's been happening in the past this season, you know, we've had that incisive ball. We've known when to play the early ball, or we've known when to be patient. This time we were short of ideas. We didn't get it right. There were no, we were being patient when we needed the earlier ball. We were delivering an early ball when we needed to be patient. And so it was, it is philosophical.
Yeah, well, yeah, I like that. I like that. I've got just to come in there, Gnome. It appears that I was looking at the league table before the scores were added. I've just hit refresh on the table to make sure I've got the most up to date table, because a couple of people, thankfully, are chiming in on YouTube to tell me that what I was reading out wasn't quite correct. You were actually right. Man United are now top of the table, 10 points from 4 games. Man City second. Brighton the third. 9 from 4. We're down in 5th. We're outside the Champions League places, for God's sake. We've sunk to the desperate depths of 5th place, Rio. But you know, could be worse. Could it? As I say, I mean, it's still unbeaten though, Rio. You know, 2 wins, 2 draws. It's a decent start, right? We've got to be happy with that, haven't we? Overall.
Absolutely. And let's turn the clock back. Say even 12 months. 5 games into the season, unbeaten. No. We've got a squad of incredibly talented players.
Yeah.
Today apart, we've played pretty well for most of this season already. You know, we played well at the end of last season. Mm-hmm. We're there on merit. We're there because we deserve to be, not because it's the start of the season and things haven't ironed themselves out yet. No, we've got an incredibly talented set of players, a very good manager who gets the best out of them. Today, with a very tired team, with like half of them not really performing, not up to the standard we expect from them, we've walked away from the away game, which against a side who haven't had the best start to their season, but have caused problems to a lot of teams in the past. Yeah. And we've come away with a point. You can't argue with that. You really can't. It's disappointing, but with half your team misfiring, I'll take it.
No, would you agree with Rio on that one? You know, not the best performance today, but here we are, 4 games in, 2 wins, 2 draws, still unbeaten.
Yeah, so that was our 4th game unchanged as well, wasn't it? Really, I think we play that game next week with a full squad, full integrated squad. Then we might get a different story, but I think it's kind of a game too far for that starting 11. As it stands. I mean, you know, sorry, it's a major crossroads here, and
sounds like a traffic nightmare down there.
Yeah. The blind guy crossing with a bloke, seriously. I think
it's all going off. It's all kicking off.
Hoping that, he's got a bloke with him. I think his mate was hoping that nothing was going to come, rather than. Anyway, having got across. I mean, we've got the new guys to come in, and you know, we've got as we've been saying, like since season of last season, we need a bit more in depth. Well, we now hopefully got that. We're going to be testing because we're going to Croatia on Thursday, whatever it is. So,
well, I mean, that brings me neatly on to my next question. Actually, I'll just stick with you, Gnome, for a minute on this one. Do you expect to see several changes for Thursday night? You know, obviously Zuma hasn't played tonight, Kroll hasn't come in, Areola potentially going to come in and make his debut. What do you think Moyes is going to do?
I'd certainly expect to see some, if not all, of the new boys.
Yeah,
already there. Partly because it's, you know, they'll have had an extra bit of time to bed in. But partly, you know, Europe's one of the reasons they've been signed. I mean, these guys are not sort of European virgins, if you like. So, you know, they'll be ideal for Zagreb away. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going, by the way? Did you get a ticket for it?
No, what, Zagreb? No, I've got work commitments, so
okay.
I fear I'm watching it with you.
We got you back at last. Rio, let's put that question to you. I mean, you know, Gnome says that he's expecting Moisey to make several changes for Thursday night. Is that how you see it going yourself?
I expect at least 3, possibly more.
Yep.
I expect Areola to step in. I think he'll be used initially as a cup keeper before he makes so much of an impression, becomes our regular first choice, whatever.
Yep.
I expect Zuma to step in for Dawson. And judging by the way our midfield performed today, as I said, it looked incredibly tired, lethargic, and really not in the races compared to the way they've played all season. I expect at least 2 or 3 changes there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Thomas Souček drop to the bench.
Okay.
Give him a well-earned rest because he's had a very long summer playing international football, where some have afforded a little bit of a break, as in Declan missed 1 game for England. Thomas hasn't. He's a nailed-on starter for every single Czech Republic game, and he's been anonymous pretty much most of this season. He's not been his usual effusive self, not been a threat in opposing penalties, the opposing penalty area, and he looks tired. Looks very tired, and he needs a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that one. Let's just stick briefly with Zagreb, gents, as we're on that topic. What do you make of that game? We'll come back to the Southampton game in just a minute, but just while we're talking about the Europa League, Rio, how do you see that one going on Thursday? Going to be a tough one, isn't it? Toughest
I expect it to be the toughest of all our group games. We've got get the hardest one out of the way first. No, David Moyes' record as a manager in Europe isn't particularly impressive.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how he approaches this one. If we can afford to play in a manner that we normally do, on the counter, taking the game to the opposition and hitting them on a break, I'll be a little more confident. But it depends on the way Zagreb approach it as well.
Sure.
I haven't seen a lot of them this season, to be honest. But it's going to be interesting, to say the least. I think if we come away with a draw there, I'll be more than happy. I think it's be our toughest game in the group stages. Let's just see how we deal with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I got to say, I like the way you slipped in I haven't seen too much of Zagreb so far this season line. I think we're probably all with you on that one.
I do, because I've got a bit of, going back to the 1996 Euros, I kind of started watching, keeping a track of a lot of Croatian football. Yeah, I'll try to keep up to date with it. But the last year or so, obviously the COVID thing set in, and I haven't really done it, but I used to.
Oh, fair play. You're one up on me anyway, buddy. Gnome, how do you see it going Thursday? I mean, it's as Rio rightly said, I think it's it's going to be our toughest game of the group. What do you see? Do you think we can get a result over there?
it's group football, isn't it? So it's always a bit cagey when you're playing in groups rather than pure knockout. I think we'll probably go for a point, and that'll inform the lineup as well, won't it? It's going to be an interesting atmosphere there.
Yes.
What do we get?
Yeah, it's
Slightly
going
over
to be
1,200 tickets. Slightly over 1,200 tickets. Possibly somewhere near 3 or 4 times that going, by all rumours. So just hope everyone's safe and all that. So we're basically walking past a lot of gnome history, by the way.
Gnome history.
When I lived down this way.
I see.
At the background.
Lovely.
That's the guild hall.
Nice.
We've seen
nice.
various gigs there, such as Mike Oldfield and Alexi Sale. How about that for a combination?
Well, it would have made a good double act, yeah, for sure.
But sorry, as I say, it's a bit of memory lane, to say, when I used to live down this way.
Well, let's come back to today's game. I just want to ask you, actually, I'm sort of thinking about the way it panned out. Do you think that there's a possibility that David Moyes was perhaps not expecting Southampton to play the way they did? I mean, it wasn't exactly what you would call expansive football, was it? I mean, you mentioned that they pretty much stuck 11 men behind the ball for the first 70 minutes whenever we were in possession. Do you think Moyes was perhaps expecting them to, come at us a little bit more than they did?
No, not really. I mean, as regards to team selection, you mean?
No, I mean, I just really mean the way they played. The way Hassan Hootel had them, playing essentially like an away team, but at home. In essence, the way that we used to play away from home quite frequently last season, and to good effect.
I think if he'd given it that much, if that had been the situation where it had been, we're expecting 11 men behind the ball. I think. No, I don't think he was surprised by that at all.
All right.
He'll have had them watched, and that team that we had out, which has been up to today, our first 11, if you like, has been good enough early on this season to take things apart. Just today, I think there's one game too many for one or two players, and we lack that cutting edge, that innovation, if you like.
Just didn't happen for the Hammers
a
today.
little bit. We started to do that a little bit against Palace, where things that sort of came up against Palace, definitely against Leicester and certain big issues, weren't really happening for us today.
No, it didn't, did it? It was a second game in a row, really. We've sort of suffered a little bit like that, but I mean, let's turn our attention. I'll take this one back to Rio, but we've talked about Southampton's chances, Rio. The one we haven't really talked about yet is the header, where I was briefly concerned that it'd gone over the line, and in the end it was dead close, wasn't it? It was, we're talking inches. Declan Rice, decent game today, but what a clearance! Saved West Ham a point there, didn't he? At the end,
absolutely saved our bacon, and that's the beauty of keeping a man on the line, isn't it? He rescued us massively. Amount of times that we've kind of succumbed to late goals. How many points did we lose over the last couple of years from winning positions? It was horrendous the amount of points we threw away.
Yes.
But at a stage where we were losing our heads in a defensive manner, it's glad to see that our most impressive and imperious player had a little bit of nerve about him to be in the right place at the right time and rescue us. It much needed. Otherwise, we'd have walked away today losing 1-0. Possibly the whole kind of mindset of the fans might have changed as well. Because we're getting the games now with a lot of confidence, everyone's upbeat, everyone's up for the game. It's been noticeable in the last 2 home games, especially, that you're not walking into an arena which is almost cursed on the word go. Everyone's walking in there in a really good mood, positive about the way we're going to approach the game. There's a lot more atmosphere, a lot more togetherness. but a couple of bad results. I hate to say it, but football fans are a little bit fickle, aren't they? And as soon as things turn against you, it affects a lot of things. And a couple of bad results could have put us under the cosh and changed the mindset of the home support as well. And that's what you don't want, because there's not a knee-jerk reactionism in football. And the last thing you want to do is lose the goodwill, the good atmosphere we've got at home at the moment, when there's actually a lot of people getting behind the team. When we conceded against Palace the other week, right? Look, in the past, you could feel the tension filling that stadium. You could feel like everything was going to go against you.
Yeah. And
that feel was down to the players. They may say it doesn't, but you can tell a mile off. Last week, it didn't. As soon as we won the goal, like we conceded that goal, the mindset of the players wasn't, oh God, here we go again.
Yeah.
It was, let's turn our face, let's go at it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need. And we don't like a late winner for Southampton today could have potentially affected that kind of mentality. And it is good to see that can save their bacon and potentially has altered the course of our season a little bit.
Well, he certainly did, and it certainly could. And it's interesting that the point you make there, I think, about fickle football fans and, you know, the difference between success and failure. No, I'll come to you on this one, but if we'd lost those first two games, I guess having drawn with Palace and Southampton, you know, in successive weekends, we'd probably be quite scathing of the team, wouldn't we? Of perhaps those two early wins given the team a bit of leeway that they might not have otherwise expected?
Yeah, I'm guessing that we've developed a sense of perspective now. You know, if we'd lost our first two and got those two, we'd still be sitting there saying, well, yeah, we haven't lost in three or lost in two, but we're still struggling to put the ball away. But sorry, I'm just arriving at the station here. I think they've heard that. You know, say sort of they sort of ticket barrier won't work.
All right. Well,
right. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, they've got a stage where, you know, performances earlier on. Okay, defensively at Newcastle, forward with fantastic. Leicester, demolition job. So, yeah, I mean, you play that well, then you're going to get a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah.
You know, if we're still here in 4 games' time and we haven't had another win to it, then I think, you know, the cartoon thing where you've got somebody's face that's a wavy line, that'll be happening a bit more, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But you know, obviously we can't take those games in isolation. It's 2 wins, 2 draws, an unbeaten start to the season for West Ham. Probably wobbled a bit more today than we have in any of the games before that. But, you know, I think you both made the point. Rio especially made the point, I think, very well, in that and someone, I think it was Thomas, if I remember rightly, Thomas Eldridge, I think it was you who mentioned that the fact that we had so many players on international duty definitely seemed to affect the team. And I think you're both right. I think there's definitely something in that. The fact that so many players didn't look, you know, Soucek didn't look up to it. Said Benrahma, though he barely played in those internationals, still did a lot of travelling and just wasn't at the races today. And he's been absolutely immense so far this season. I think that definitely affected us a little bit. But I guess the question there, Rio, is if the internationals have affected the team, what's the Europa League going to do to us? You know, are we going to be another one of these teams that's going to be affected by playing on a Thursday and then having to play in the Premier League again 72 hours later?
I think that's without a doubt. We also have to factor in the fact that our squad, despite the augmentation in the last week of the window, is still wafer thin.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at our realistic possibilities to replace Mikel Antonio.
Yeah.
There is no standout candidate to do that. So we're going to come on from European trips, absolutely shattered, and with no one really to kind of step into the breach and take up the mantle, because these players have got to do it week in, week out. It's something I pointed out in the summer as well, that the likes of Declan Rice, Soucek, Soufal, it was all well and good seeing them perform to the highest level in Euros and doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
But let's see how they look in February, March, because they're not going to get a break, because we need them to play week in, week out. Their countries need them to play week in, week out. And the only ones who are going to suffer is West Ham.
We're certainly going to suffer in our next home game. Let's just forget the Zagreb game briefly, because our next Premier League game is, of course, against Manchester United. It's going to be a tough one, a resurgent Manchester United at the London Olympic Stadium next week. And, of course, we're going to be missing Michail Antonio. But, no, it's not great news, is it? But I suppose at least it is only one game, isn't it, I believe, for two yellow cards. It's only a one-match ban.
Yeah, the only thing we were thinking was if somebody has another look at it and tries to upgrade that to straight red. Now, I've only seen it once, and whether or not it would be, I don't know. You've probably got a better angle on that. That straight red would probably go to 3, but second yellow would just be the one. I know it's a Southampton, not. I think he's trying to get it upgraded to straight red for whatever reason. But,
yeah.
I think the referee came and might even have booked him. I know he went over another word. But,
okay. I don't know what Rio's view of it. Sorry, no, I was just going to say I don't know what Rio's view of it is, but I mean, I felt it was clearly a yellow card. I think to upgrade it to a red would be particularly harsh. Rio, would you agree with that, or did you think it deserved more?
No, I think it'd be harsh.
Okay.
The first one was bringing out frustration. It was clearly getting fouls. He was getting held back. And I can't remember the Southampton player was now, but he had a bit of a go at him. Mikel reacted. The second one was just, it was a mindless lunge, wasn't it? He looked like a tired player who, to be honest, I would have substituted him about 5 or 10 minutes earlier, because he was looking incredibly leggy, and he's our focal point in attack. Yeah. And when the ball doesn't stick for Mikel, the game's up. And he looked frustrated, he looked tired, and it was almost borderline inevitable for me. He was going to get into trouble in some way. Yeah,
I think you're totally right. He definitely looked frustrated, didn't he? And of course, I think it was Steve Page who pointed out that he was clutching his hip after that challenge, and just looked generally cheesed off with life, didn't he? And I suppose who was it? I think Chris Bowen pointed out that he had a 13,000-mile round journey in midweek, and again coming back to what we were saying about the internationals and the burden that players. Of course, they're off to Zagreb again this week. It's an awful lot of football to play, but anyway, it is what it is, to coin a phrase, and that's where we are. We're going to wrap up, actually, gentlemen, now, because I have a dinner date in about 25 minutes, so I've got to rush off and get changed. But before we do that, let's we haven't done it yet. Let's pick our man of the match, and Gnome, I'll come to you first on that one, if I may. Who was your standout player for the Hammers today, if anyone?
Nobody really.
Yeah.
It was. I think Bowen worked his socks off without really sort of sticking out. So I'm really hard pushing to really pick someone out. So Bowen, I think. Maybe.
Okay.
Actually, Bowen. I've just got me train as well.
Okay. Rio,
I'm parked up by the airport.
Okay, good luck. We'll just have you for a couple of more minutes, if we may, and we'll wrap up. But Rio, your man of the match?
For me, Declan Rice.
Yep.
Generally one of our midfield who'd undergone the hard yards of international football, a lot of travelling. But today he was imperious and led by example, saved our bacon. I just wish he wouldn't believe the hype about scoring with 30 yards. It's not happening, mate. It's just not happening.
No, not at the moment. Not at the moment. For me, I'm going to go for Craig Dawson. I mean, I know he had that error that nearly cost us in the second half, but I thought prior to that, I thought first half he was outstanding. Bearing in mind the enormous pressure he must have been under as well, knowing that his place is is pretty much up for grabs with the arrival of Kurt Zouma. And I thought he handled that magnificently, the pressure in the first half. Again, at the start of the second half, I thought he was excellent, but did make that one wicket. But I don't think anyone was perfect today, were they? Declan Rice, of course, that had a good game and hooked that one off the line that saved us the point. But a couple of people just to see what everyone's going for on the live chat. Thomas Eldridge saying perhaps Bowen agreeing with Gnome, and Sam K also saying Bowen man of the match for me. Hobo going with you, Rio, saying that's a Declan man of the match just for that clearance. Never mind his overall play. He felt he was superb. That's just about it for today. Just one thing I want to touch on before we go, Rio. Should we have a quick dive into the forum before we bid farewell and just see what our fellow Hammers are saying about that game?
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, as expected, a lot of kind of not unhappy, let's say dejected. Point out by Billardino was we've run out of puff after 70 to 75 minutes once again.
Yeah.
Second game in a row is having a squad going to be costly. But as Bubbles put, not the manager needs to be willing to make substitute players. With 100 to 150 million worth of players on the bench, we made only 2 subs, despite the fact the whole squad looked leggy. Eastleigh Hammer 16. Very concerned that we already look leggy. We haven't even started in Europe yet. Botorius ran the game, but then we're very fortunate at the end. It's a fair result, to be honest, but I thought Fornells and Benny were horrific.
Okay.
So Trevor, really don't see how we could have got a player along the lines of Grover who come on for them. Young, quick, and a bit of a lump. We just need someone to come on a few minutes there and then to make like a kind of impression. There we go. Last 2 games. This is Asian Hammer. Last 2 games we could have lost. Dawson is going to cost us games until Moyes plays Zuma. Yeah, just a lot of kind of reflective. No real criticism. I think it's just an appreciation of the fact we've got away for Finn squad. Yeah, it's still early in the season and we're short of numbers.
Okay, good stuff. That's the view of our fellow Hammers on the KUMB.com forum. We haven't even taken a look really at Saints Web this afternoon to find out what the Southampton fans thought of the game. But of course, you can do that tomorrow on KUMB.com. We will have our roundup, the opposition view, where we will find out what the Saints thought of today's game. But anyway, join us on KUMB tomorrow for that. If you want to talk about the game, get onto the KUMB.com forum match thread. There will be plenty of discussion being had there for the rest of the game. Before we do go, let me just thank everybody who's joined us on the live stream. Thank you for supporting us as you do week in, week out, and for entertaining us with your contributions and comments. If you like what you've seen, give us a little like. There's a little thumbs up button down there. Please feel free to hit that if you've enjoyed the stream. We thank you for that. And of course, subscribe to what we do to be notified when any of our content goes live. And of course, to be told, be informed when our live streams go live, as will be the case on Thursday for Zagreb. I'm going to go to the chats for their final words as we wrap up. It sounds like we're getting the final word for the stadium announcer at Southampton at the moment, but hopefully he's going to be finished very soon. So I'll go down to you first of all, Gnome, for your final thoughts on what you've seen today, coming at us live from St Mary's. And I think we might have lost Gnome, actually. So I'm going to, okay, while we see if we can get Gnome back for one last moment. Rio, I'll come to you. Final thoughts, buddy.
Yeah, it's just a very disappointing game, wasn't it? We look incredibly tired. The lack of investment in the squad, particularly up front, is going to come back and bite us. But look at the positives. It's a clean sheet. We haven't kept one of them all season.
Mm-hmm.
We've gone to a tricky away ground, got a point. We're still top 5. We're not Arsenal. Just in general, things are on the up still.
Yep.
We've got 3 new players to bed in. We're starting a European tour this week. Things are still positive. Let's not be downhearted by going away from home. And despite the fact we played really well for 70 minutes, we was clinging on at the end. We got a point. Let's be happy.
Yeah, you know what they say: when your home games draw your away games, you can have a good season, and that's we've done better than that so far. No, have we got you, or have we lost you now? I can kind of hear you. You're sort of in and out at the moment. Can you hear me, Gnome? Can you hear me? I guess that's a no. All right, so we'll call it a day there anyway. For the record, gentlemen, I've just seen Lee Hendry come on my screen over here, and I've just seen what he's wearing, and I can absolutely validate what was said earlier about his togs. Very interesting selection of clobber on show there from Mr. Hendry. But anyway, that's it from us, from myself, from Gnome, and from Rio. Gnome coming live from St Mary's, giving us the view from the fans, the travelling fans, and myself and Rio in our studios. West Ham United haven't won today, but they have extended their unbeaten run to 4 games. We remain unbeaten, 2 wins, 2 draws, despite failing to break down a resilient and tough, hard-working Southampton side at St Mary's today. And of course, it could have been so much worse had the effort that struck the woodwork in the closing seconds gone the other side of the post, or Declan Rice not being positioned perfectly to hook out a goal-bound header from underneath the crossbar in the final minute of added on time. Now it's finished Southampton 0, West Ham United 0. West Ham 8 points from our opening 4 games of the season, in 5th place in the Premier League, and on our way to Croatia next week. Of course, we will be bringing you that game live from here, from Eyes Up Mother Brown. So if you're not going to Croatia in midweek, of course, if you are, have a safe journey. We hope you have a wonderful time and sing loud and proud for the Hammers. But if you're not, why not come and join us again on Thursday evening on KUMB TV's Eyes Up Mother Brown. Myself, Rio, you'll be here, I'm sure, on Thursday.
I'll explain that after we've come off air.
Okay, all right. Well, maybe not. But myself and Gnome will definitely be here. Hopefully, Nick will be back as well. But there will be some of us here anyway. We hope you can join us once again on KUMB TV on Thursday evening. Until then, West Ham 5th in the Premier League, still going strong, still looking good, still unbeaten.